Yes, Aaron Rodgers might be traded. Yes, the Lions don't really know the future of their quarterback. Somehow, though, the Vikings odds to win the Super Bowl are lower than the Lions and the Packers. Like, how in the world can the Lions and the Packers be favorites to win the Super Bowl over a Minnesota Vikings team? And we know things are going to change. We know things are going to move around a little bit with the salary cap, and I get it. People don't trust Kirk Cousins. You heard Mike Florio earlier this week go off about Kirk Cousins being just good enough to win games, but not good enough to win you a championship. Let's start with you, Luke. Why are the Lions and the Packers ahead of the Vikings as far as odds to win a Super Bowl?
Yeah, and Ron, you mentioned the changes that are going to take place this offseason. I think that's what kind of Vegas is predicting. The NFC North, even towards the end of the season, feels like you started to see a shift in the balance of power. Maybe we're starting to change a little bit. Remember, with one good offseason, any team can go from worst to first. And you look at even Chicago, Ryan Poles, they got the number 1 overall pick. That's going to be worth a king's ransom this year in a deep quarterback draft. They got over $100 million to spend in free agency, which is absurd as well. But with Detroit, Dan Campbell has really built a real foundation over there, a new culture in Detroit. And you look at the biggest difference between the Vikings and Lions right now. I see one team that has a core of aging veterans on the wrong side of 30 with not a lot of money to work with, and another team in Detroit that they've just built a nucleus of young, emerging talent with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Swift, Penei Sewell, Aiden Hutchinson, a top 2 pick. Jared Goff was lights out. Jamison Williams, we don't even know what he's going to look like yet. And now they have 2 more first-round picks. So they're young, they're hungry, they're loaded with talent. It doesn't surprise me, honestly, knowing how much the Vikings overachieved this year. Vegas understands that more times than not, they're probably going to regress back to the mean a little bit after a year where you win literally every single one-score game. Packers are interesting because they really underachieved this year too. And now with Rodgers possibly on the way out, surprises me they're almost still up there as a favorite. But at the end of the day, I really think it's just Vegas kind of protecting itself in case he does come back. They don't want to get burned by the bettors who got him at really good odds. Their defense on paper should be a lot better than what it was this year. And I don't know if they want to roll with Jordan Love. I mean, he's shown enough flashes that he could be more than competent running an NFL offense. But I just think, Ron, the Vikings at the end of the day, just knowing their cap restraints, right, and the fact that they're likely going to have to move on from at least a big name or two. And that's with maybe the worst statistical defense in the league this year. Plus, knowing they're missing some key draft picks as well. I just don't know how Kwesi can realistically improve this team enough to duplicate the same success, just given, again, the lack of assets, the kind of lack of ammo this offseason. But meanwhile, you got the Lions stock. That's pointing way up. 5 picks in the top 80 this year, guys.
Well, Sam, what you got?
Yeah, well laid out by Luke. I think that Vegas is anticipating a big Vikings roster reconstruction, which could make them worse. But I also think that it could be addition by subtraction in a few different cases because you're going to have the ability financially to reinvest that money and potentially improve your team. But I think Luke's right. The Lions' arrow is pointing up. The elevator's going the right direction. Now, what are they going to do at quarterback? We don't know exactly. Are they going to draft a quarterback in the future? Are they going to stick with Jared Goff? And the Packers could change the second Aaron Rodgers is out the door. So it might not end up being the Vikings are number 3 in the division to win the Super Bowl. It could end up being that the Packers trade Rodgers. The Packers fall like down kind of with the Bears in the cellar. And then it's the Vikings and the Lions vying for the NFC North. I think that's a realistic scenario. But hey, if the Vikings are going to be undervalued, they still have Justin Jefferson. They still have an offense that is ready to win. And with that group intact, I think it actually becomes a value bet if people are going to overlook the Vikings to win the Super Bowl. I wouldn't mind putting $10 on that. Ron, what do you say? 10 or 100 to win 11,000. I love a good value bet. I don't know if this is quite the same extent, but I'd lay a little bit on that.
Gabe, what you got?
Yeah, I feel like Luke and Sam took the obvious points, just phenomenal points. So I'm gonna go a little bit more simple, and I'm give an example. So like this morning, right? We started the show. I'm chewing food, right? So fans are probably looking at him and like, man, why are 3 guys smiling and another guy's chewing? Well, I forgot to take my vitamins this morning, so I had to get the vitamins in before we started. And I look at that as the Vikings, right? every other show, I've always taken my vitamins early, been ready for the show. And like the first 12 to 13 games, the Vikings were ready. And this is a league of what have you done for me lately? And lately, the Green Bay Packers ended the year with a winning streak. The Detroit Lions ended the year 9-8 on a winning streak. They didn't need their vitamins because they were already young. They're already fit. They already know what to do. And I look at this as a statement of Vegas saying, well, this is a younger team. They've done a lot for us lately, so why not put our odds against them? Yeah, I do agree with Sam. I do think this could be a purple and blue division the next couple of years, because I still think the Vikings can still contend for at least the NFC North. Just with this current roster, yeah, you're going to have to reconstruct some deals or cut some guys or trade some guys and try to figure some things out. But there's going to be a lot of moves made this offseason for this Minnesota Vikings team, and a lot of people don't know what they're going to be. So I get what they're saying when it comes to, yeah, the Packers, yeah, the Lions. Those teams are I mean, we know what to expect out of those teams. So we'll see how it goes, but I appreciate you guys not calling me out in the beginning.
Yeah, that's a good point, Gabe. Yep, and we would never make fun of you for chewing because we've all been there. Here's where I go with it. Vegas just wants money. If I'm going to look at the people who have the most hope for their team, but also say this is a value bet, it's the Minnesota Vikings. When you look at Kevin O'Connell, you look at Kirk Cousins is coming back for sure. Justin Jefferson is coming back. You're going to have one of your running backs in Dalvin Cook or Alexander Madison. So you'll have that back. You're going to have Christian Darrisaw, Brian O'Neill, Ezra Cleveland, guard center. I don't know. John Michael Schmidt, first rounder. It's there. So there's a lot of things with this. Now, defensively, and I look at the teams in the deal right now. The 49ers, for instance, they're 20th in the pass game. You look at the Bengals, they're 23rd in the pass game. The Chiefs, they're 18th in the pass defense game. So, and the Bengals have given up, they were 16th. They gave up 335 yards a game. So if you can get some semblance of a defense with that offense, this is a team that, yeah, those odds are worth it. And why not bet $100 to win more money and just say, you know what, this is on the season. I mean, Mattress Mac is out here betting $1 million to $2 million on the Dallas Cowboys. We can easily put up $100 on the Minnesota Vikings with great odds. And I think that's the key for this. Vegas just wants money. That's it. I don't think anything, because again, they know that if Rodgers leaves, those odds are going to completely go down and tank. And everybody's like, I wouldn't bet a penny on that, because I would rather keep a penny than lose it to the Packers without Aaron Rodgers. There's no way they're going to the Super Bowl without Aaron Rodgers. So that's just Vegas being smart, trying to win money.